All right, I'm recording.
Okay.
Well, I lost you while we were speaking last week, Chris. It was mobile phone. You're in Pensacola, Florida.
I am.
It's put a real smile on my face that you're training with Roy Jones Jr. It must be great every single day.
It really is. It really is. I never thought I would find somebody like Roy. I just never dreamed that I would be in this situation where I'm being trained by one of the best ever. You know, somebody that I, looked up to and idolized throughout my career. You know, as a kid, and now I'm training with him every day, sparring with him. Obviously helping him get ready, get in shape for this fight he's got with Mike. But just a lot of learning, a lot of one-on-one time just being spent on focusing and mastering these small little things that I guess I lost track of over the years in terms of my fight game. He sees everything. He's done it all. He's been there. He's done it all, and he knows how to articulate and how to teach. That's the difference between Roy and all these other great fighters. There's you got hundreds and thousands of amazing fighters that have but it's them being able to actually get that knowledge across and be able to implement it and train it into other fighters, and Roy can do that. So it's definitely been a blessing coming out here.
You put out three really interesting tweets in the last 4 days, actually. I've wrapped these hands 1,000,000 times and I'll wrap them 1,000,000 times more, you said. Never ruin a good day by thinking about a bad yesterday. And this is the one I really like from yesterday. They say the right hand can take you around the block, but the jab can take you around the world. Can we maybe, or can I read something into that you're getting into finer details and you're really relishing it and really enjoying it and realizing, shit, I didn't have that weapon before in the way that I've now got it or could have it. Do you know what I mean? Am I reading it right?
Well, listen, everything I say and do is, it means something. And yeah, a lot of that stuff, it applies to me for sure. With the jab, I've always had a good jab, but I just haven't ever. It's not that I haven't understood the importance of it, but when you got these big fights and you got all this energy and heart and animosity, and you don't want to jab the guy, you want to get those hooks and uppercuts in, and that's always been my mentality. And I'm now understanding that it's not all about being
the Eubank machismo. The Eubank machismo, yeah.
I mean, that's great, and that's always going to be there. And I'm always going to fight like that. But sometimes switch it up a little bit. Why not? Don't let these guys think you're one-dimensional. Or don't let them think that they know what you're going to do. And the jab helps you to set up so many other things. And I kind of lost track of that over the years. I've always had a good jab. I just never used it enough. And now I'm being forced to work on it and study it. And it's a great thing. What were the other things you said?
About not remembering a bad day yesterday.
Yes. Don't let a bad day ruin well, a bad yesterday ruin a good today.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We all go through things. We all experience the highs and lows of life. I've experienced a lot of highs, but I've definitely had my lows. And it's all about how you move forward, how you improve. If everybody always focused on the bad things, then you just wouldn't get anywhere in life. I've had 2 losses in my career, and I could have just said, you know what, I'm done. Especially when you've got the internet trolls and the haters rubbing it in every single day are, retire and, do this and do that, and you're not who you think you are and all that. You know, you could easily let that affect your spirit and the person you are. But if you're strong and if you're willing to learn and you're willing to change and you're willing to improve, forget about it. Move on. Be a better person. Learn from your mistakes. And that's definitely something that I believe I'm good at and that I've done and that I'm doing. So yeah, that was just
well, just look at your 2 losses, all right. Billy Joe Saunders is one of the trickiest operators on the planet. George Groves, you gave him hell, right? You gave him hell. And James DeGale was a bit weather worn when you fought him, but you did a number on him. So, and he's been a great, great British boxer in my view.
Oh, 1 second.
Okay, no problem. I just lost you then.
1 second.
You've got this
okay,
far,
but you've got this far.
But you've got this far. But
what were we saying?
The 2 losses. You've beaten James DeGale since your 2nd loss, and you're 3-0 now on this run. You're the interim WBA, aren't you? At middleweight.
Yes, I am. And I should. And let me just say, I should be the full WBA. Canelo has, I have no idea, by some miracle, still has this middleweight title that he shouldn't have, because he has belts in 2 other weight classes. But this is politics, and he's got away with it somehow, and he's holding on to this belt. But the fight against Korobov, I should have been fighting for the full title. But what can you do?
Well, you can't do anything with the sanctioning bodies because they're lords of themselves. But he could also be a target for you in the WBA stream, couldn't he?
Well, listen, I'm the interim champion. I'm #1 contender for that belt. That's that is one of the many reasons why I've been calling this guy out. He has something that I have the right to be fighting for, and on top of that, even if he didn't, who doesn't want to fight Canelo? Who doesn't want to be in the biggest fight in boxing?
Do you think about that every day? Do you think about fighting him every day?
Absolutely. He's #1 on the hit list, and any fighter that's in one of the weight classes that he holds a belt in should be no different. If you're a fighter worth your salt, because he is, in terms of, he's the biggest name in boxing, I believe, right now.
Outside the heavyweights, outside the very top heavyweights. No, but he's a bigger draw. I agree. He's a bigger draw because the numbers, it's something like 30 million people watch him in Mexico every time he fights. Something like that. So he's massive. He's also he's an awesome guy as well. And with a couple more fights, I think I'd really like to see you fight him. I'd like to see. Well, I know you'd fight him tomorrow. I know you'd fight him in Roy's backyard tomorrow. Can I just ask you, when you found out, obviously you were there when the Roy Jones Jr., you casually mentioned earlier Roy's fighting Mike in a few weeks' time. But part of me thinks it shouldn't happen, but then I think I am definitely going to be watching. But the thing is, it's quite nice to be there on that axis right now, though, isn't it? I mean, it's quite an exciting thing. I mean, they are 2 major legends of the sport, and you've got a front row seat,
Yeah, I mean, I've got a front row seat, and I've got a front row view into what Roy is doing to prepare for Mike, and I'm helping him. And this is something that, this is something I never dreamed in a million years I would be doing, helping Roy Jones to fight Mike Tyson. I mean, how are we here? How is this happening? but yeah, it really is happening. I'm actually going to Pittsburgh with him in a couple of days. I think we're going to do some training out there. And you know, Mike Tyson and Roy Jones are two of my favorite fighters of all time.
Yeah.
So I never ever thought I would be watching a fight and rooting against Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson, Mike Tyson is a hero of mine, but I'm in this crazy position where it's like I've got two heroes and they're fighting, and it's like, well, I can't go against Roy. I've been with him every day for the last 5 months, you know. So I'm actually in this weird position where I want to see one of my heroes not win. So it's kind of weird and messed up, but it's, you know, we're here and we're doing it, and yeah, it's gonna be. I don't know how prepared Mike is. You know, he looks great in his little 30-second clips on Instagram, but you know, 8 rounds against Roy Jones is a different thing. Roy has been active. You know, I think he had a fight like 2 years ago, like an exhibition like that. So he's the type of guy. Roy, boxing is everything to Roy. I'm not saying that it's not everything to Mike, but I think that, you know, after Mike retired, boxing became, you know, something he used to do, and he just, you know, he lived another life. Roy has never lived any other life. He's in the gym every day. He loves it. He loves training. He loves training people. He loves talking about boxing. He loves watching boxing. He just can't walk away from it. It's just him. So that's the question, you know. Mike, yes, he has the power advantage. Yes, he has the size advantage, but the 15 years that he's been absent from the gym and from the game, you know, that's a lot. It takes a lot to come back from that. So, you know, me personally, I'm confident Roy, you know, as long as he doesn't get caught by one of these crazy punches, I think Roy can do it for sure.
Organically, how did you and Roy come together?
So I was in Vegas training, living the life.
Which you did as a teenager?
Yes. I mean, I didn't. As a teen, it was just high school and boxing at top ranked gym and
golden gloves,
gloves and all of that stuff. Like I didn't really, you know, I didn't do anything else. Obviously now as an adult, there's a lot more out there to do. But
where'd you hang out in Vegas? Do you go to the Arts District at all?
I go everywhere, man. That's the one thing I love. I own an apartment there. I love being in places where at any given time, any day, any time of the day, you can go and just do something amazing.
Yeah.
And it's amazing and something completely different that's still amazing every single day for months. And there's just new and amazing things going on all the time. That is obviously growing up in Brighton, which is a very laid back, kind of relaxed. You got the beach, and there's not a whole lot going on. You know, that it's a completely different lifestyle. So yeah, I've always loved that, and so yeah, I take advantage of it when I'm out there, and I'm not, you know, obviously in a training camp. I'm doing everything. I'm going to shows.
Have you been on that horrible ride, or those horrible rides off the stratosphere, or not?
Yeah, I've done all of that. You got to.
Man, I don't like them. They're scary. Come on.
It's very scary, yeah. But you know, when you're there every day and you're seeing things going off the side, you're like, yeah, I've got to try it. You know, I've watched probably all the Vegas shows, all the Cirque du Soleil shows. You know, I go to comedy events and concerts, and yeah, it's an amazing place. But also, obviously, aside from all that, it is, in my opinion, the fight capital of the world. This is where there's an amazing amount of gyms, amazing training facilities, and huge fights regularly. And so you always got this community of fighters coming in and out of Vegas to train, to acclimatize before they fight on the strip, or just to be there and train because they know other fighters are there. You've also got a huge UFC community there, and the fighters there sometimes they'll spar with the boxers just to get their hand game up. And I've been to the UFC Institute a couple times, trained there.
Is that where you met Roy? Is that where you met Roy?
No, it's not. I met Roy in so a friend of mine, Kevin Newman, he had a fight at it's a casino called Sam's Town, off the strip, and they hold fights there. Mayweather Promotions do a lot of their fight shows there, and he had Roy come and be in his corner, and I went there obviously to support Kevin and watch him fight, and I walked in, Roy's in the change room with him, and I was like, wow, that's Roy Jones. Obviously, I didn't really bother him too much or say anything because he's getting Kevin ready for the fight.
Yeah.
But then after the fight, obviously everyone went back to the changing room, and things calmed down. And I just got a chance to sit down and talk to him for 5 minutes, and we took a picture, and I found out that he had this gym in Pensacola. I asked him a couple of questions just about training and how did you do certain things and what was your mindset here? Just little things that I'd always wanted to ask him, but this is the first time I met him, and it was surprising how like down to earth and laid back he was. He was such a cool guy. I wasn't really expecting that because you grew up watching all these clips of him with throwing a million punches and knocking all these guys out and talking in guys' faces at the weigh-ins and stuff like that. And you just, you get like you build up an image of somebody, and he was just very, very, very laid back and not what I thought he would be. And then that was it. We went our separate ways, and that was that. I didn't really put any thought into, man, I should go and train with Roy, because I just never, I didn't know he was a trainer like that. And two, I was so comfortable in Vegas. I had this great gym at Floyd's. I got all these friends, and I was doing all these things out there, and I just have a great setup there. So I was like, I didn't imagine myself leaving Vegas. But then a week later, coronavirus comes, and it hit bad. I didn't really, I kind of heard little things about it, but I didn't really, I didn't really take any notice. No one, it wasn't like
no one did till mid-March, really. No one really did. It was mid-March, and it suddenly kicked in, didn't it?
Right, yeah. And I really knew how serious it was when I guess I had planned to go out on a night out with some friends, and I got a call in the morning like, yeah, Chris, everything's canceled, man. Like they've shut down the club, and there was some big rapper that was supposed to be there, and he's like, yeah, then they're not coming. And I was like, wow. And then I kind of went. I had like a schedule of all these events and stuff I was gonna do like over the next week or two, and it was just, I was looking them up in the internet, and just X is closed, canceled. I was like, oh shit, like this is serious. Like Vegas is about done. So I was sitting there thinking like, okay, so what do I do? I'm here, I'm in Vegas. I called my trainer. He was saying that on Monday the Floyd's was going to be closed. So I was like, well, how bad is this going to get? Should I go back to England and and be with my family? Do I just stay here in my apartment and ride it out? I didn't know, and then it hit me. Hold on a second, Roy Jones. He has Pensacola. It's I'm guessing it's going to stay open because it's, you know, he said it was on his farm and it's private and it was just him there. I wonder if I could maybe go and train with him, maybe be there for while this thing happens, well, you know, until wait there until this thing blows over. So I called my dad and said to him, yeah, you know, can you see if you can get Roy to let me come to his gym and just train with him? You know, the gyms out here are closed. There's nothing going on here, so there's no real reason for me to be here. Can you see what you can do? And he said, sure, that's a great idea. And, you know, a few hours later, he called me back. He's like, yeah, it's done. You can, Roy's happy for you to come and spend some time down there. And then I got on a plane the next day. I was gone. And I've been here in Pensacola ever since, last 4 or 5 months now.
So this chapter should be entitled, headline, "My Lockdown with Roy Jones Jr." by Chris Eubank Jr.
That's really what it is, you know. I'm not going to say coronavirus was a blessing, because obviously it's been devastating to many people, but because of it forced me to come here, and it has changed my whole attitude and just the way I think about boxing. Now I actually think about boxing. I'm not going into the gym and going into these fights now just wanting to rip guys' heads off. I mean, I still want to do that, but now I'm thinking about the best ways to do it instead of just being fit and strong. You know, now I'm actually processing and setting up game plans and strategies and just, yeah, my boxing IQ has gone up for sure, and I'm just excited now to be able to show that off. And you know, it's funny because all that stuff was there. It just wasn't. I just wasn't using it. I wasn't using it, and Roy has forced me to use it.
Yeah, you're clearly, it really sounds like you're curating it. Definitely. It's definitely there in your thoughts and you're speaking about it. So when and who will you fight next, do you think?
I'm hoping to fight within the next couple of months.
On whose promotion? On whose? Oh, with Showtime, yeah?
Yeah, I'm with Showtime PBC. Al Heyman, you know, I work with Al Heyman and his outfit, and that's who my last 2 fights have been under. They recently put out like a fight schedule, and I am going to be on one of those shows. You know, it's you know, with the current situation, it's hard for promoters, I guess, to put on these big fights because, you know, being no crowds and no gate and all this type of stuff, that obviously affects the amount of money that can be made. So I guess that's why these super fights are not happening right now, or these big fights are not happening right now. Now it's kind of like, all right, well, guys need to fight, but, you know, we're gonna get them guys who can, you know, not tick over fights, but just fights where, you know, you can keep active, and then once everything gets back to normal, then you put on the real ones, and that seems to be what everyone's doing now. So I'm guessing that's what's going to happen with me. I don't know. I haven't heard of any big names that I could possibly fight. I thought the Charlo fight might happen this within the next few months, but now he's been put with what's the guy's name, Dermachenko or something like that. Is that the guy's name?
Sergei Derevyanchenko, yeah.
Right, yeah. So that fight is out of the window, which is, you know, well, it's not out of the window, but it's obviously not happening in my fight, which is what would have happened probably if coronavirus hadn't hit. But I guess that is a very big money fight. That's a pay-per-view fight, and they're not wanting to make that right now. So I'm just waiting on Showtime and PBC to give me an opponent. So we'll see, but it should be within the next few months.
3 last quick questions, all right?
Okay.
Roy Jones Jr. asked you to carry the bucket for his fight against Mike Tyson on September the 12th. Are you there?
Oh, come on. What am I going to do? Say no?
Is there any chance that might happen?
I hope so.
Would that be a dream come true?
I would love to be in Roy's corner. I would love to be in Roy's corner. And, you know, who knows? We'll find out. I mean, I'm one of his head training partners, so I'll definitely be there. Whether I'll be in the corner, I don't know if I'll be in the corner, but yeah, of course I would be in his corner. Yeah, for sure.
For your next fight or your next really big one, are we going to get Chris Eubank Sr. and Roy Jones Jr. together in your corner? That's a big question. That's a big question.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you know, that's 2 very big personalities. My father is over the moon that I'm here training with Roy, working with Roy. You know, they've talked a lot, and he's very he's very happy. In terms of, you know, corner work, my dad hasn't actually been in the corner properly for my last few fights, because I feel like there needs to be one voice. There needs to be a commanding voice in the corner. When there's too much going on, it confuses fighters, and it can work against the fighter if there's too much information coming. So you know, I don't know if I'd be able to handle Roy and my father both shouting information at me in between rounds. But who knows? You know,
it's a great image, you know, Chris. It's an amazing. I don't want to make light of it, but I just love the idea of it. And finally, it's a question not about you or them. Who's the best heavyweight in the world in your view?
I gotta go with my boy Anthony, man. I really think that. I really think he has it in him, especially with that last fight with Ruiz. He showed that he can adapt. He showed that he can overcome adversity and do what he has to do to win. And, you know, I think that in a fight against Fury, you know, where Fury went and bullied Wilder just with his size and force, you can't do that with Anthony. He's too big. You know, Anthony's too big. So that strategy wouldn't work. And Anthony has a lot more better boxing skills than what Deontay Wilder does. Yeah. With the same power, in my opinion. So I definitely think that in that fight he can win. And yeah, so I would definitely go with Anthony Joshua.
We got to see it as well, haven't we? We've got to see.
We have to. I think hasn't it been announced for like middle of next year?
They've made an agreement for 2 fights, but it's an agreement. Remember, so there's so much in principle, you know.
Okay, so there's a rematch clause, obviously.
No, but also Dillian White's mandatory for the WBC. Usyk, if he beats Chisora, is mandatory for the WBO, and all of those kind of things. So, but I think it would trump everything. I think it would be a very, very big fight, you know. But the thing is, with the coronavirus pandemic, you know, finally, it's rising up and down without going into it too much. We don't know when there's going to be big crowds again, you know, and in the end, for a couple of years, if there isn't a vaccine and it is spiking in different places, fighters are either going to have to go to different places where big crowds are allowed, or there will be big fights behind closed doors or with very reduced audiences, and there will be reductions. You know, there's inflation and deflation, economies get bust, and, you know, in different times, people earn different money. So it may come down to the shrewdest who take the fights. And Eddie Hearn told me yesterday, Anthony Joshua has to get out this year. And if we have to do it in the Garden of Matchroom, we will do it in the Garden of Matchroom. And we will do it because we have to, because he's got to get out this year. But that's an eventuality that you have to just think about just in case because of this coronavirus. That's it, isn't it? It's planning. It's, you know, so listen, it's absolutely brilliant to see you. I agree. I mean, you and I have always got on very well anyway. I've got so much time for you. I know your will and tenacity is unquenchable. You know, your physicality is incredible. If you're learning more technical things about how to make fights easier for yourself, to break someone down, good on you. You know, and I love you. As soon as I heard you were with Roy Jones Jr., I actually got quite excited about it. You know, it made me feel excited. And your dad clearly respects him, and all of those things have fallen into place. And you look physically fantastic as well, by the way, because I can see you on the screen. Yeah, yeah. So I said at the beginning, you look big. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You started going, oh, I haven't weighed myself for a while. You look good. You look big and good. It's an absolute pleasure to see you, mate.
All right, Gareth. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks very much. Take care of yourself. Catch up soon, yeah?
Okay, you too. Have a good one.
Thanks a lot.
All right.